Imagine, you are living in ancient Egypt, but this time, the pharaoh is not a man. The pharaoh is a woman. She doesn't simply become a queen or a princess. She rises to the throne as the actual ruler of Egypt. She rules for more than 20 years. She builds massive temples. She brings wealth into Egypt. She sends trading expeditions to distant lands. But after her death, someone tries to erase her from history. Her statues are smashed. Her name is removed. Why? This is the story of one of ancient Egypt's most mysterious female pharaohs, Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut lived during the 15th century BC, during Egypt's 18th dynasty. She wasn't an ordinary princess. She was the daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose I. Later, she married her half-brother, Thutmose II. But when Thutmose II died, Egypt faced a complicated situation. The heir to the throne, Thutmose III, was still very young. So Hatshepsut initially became his regent, the person who ruled Egypt on behalf of the young king. But eventually, everything changed. Hatshepsut didn't remain a regent. She eventually presented herself as the Pharaoh of Egypt. She took royal titles, and in Egyptian art, she was often portrayed like a traditional male pharaoh, the royal beard, the traditional crown, the clothing of a pharaoh. But this doesn't mean she was trying to convince people that she was a man. Egyptian royal art followed strict traditions for portraying a pharaoh. Even in her male-style statues, inscriptions still identified Hatshepsut as a woman. But there was a much more important question. How did Thutmose III react to this? Thutmose III was Hatshepsut's stepson and nephew. Officially, they were both pharaohs. But in reality, Hatshepsut held much of the political power, and this arrangement lasted for more than 20 years. Interestingly, Hatshepsut's reign wasn't dominated by wars. She focused heavily on trade and construction, and one of her greatest projects was the magnificent temple at Deir el-Bahri. But Hatshepsut's greatest achievement would take her far beyond Egypt's borders. Hatshepsut sent a major expedition to a distant land known as Punt. The exact location of Punt is still debated, but the expedition traveled south through the Red Sea. The ships made the long journey, and when they returned, they brought back gold, incense, valuable goods, and most remarkably, living myrrh trees. The entire expedition was recorded on the walls of Hatshepsut's temple at Deir el-Bahri. She turned the journey into one of the great achievements of her reign. During Hatshepsut's reign, major construction projects transformed Egypt. Temples, statues, massive columns, obelisks. She wasn't simply trying to preserve Egypt, she was trying to make it richer and more powerful. Her temple at Deir el-Bahri remains one of the most famous monuments of ancient Egyptian architecture. But after Hatshepsut's reign ended, her story suddenly became much darker. Hatshepsut died, and years later, something strange began to happen. Her statues were smashed, her images were damaged, her name was removed from some monuments, and in some places, her identity as pharaoh was replaced by the names of other rulers. The strangest part? This destruction began roughly 20 years after her death, and that leads to one of the greatest questions in Egyptian history. Who ordered it? For many years, the most popular theory was simple. Thutmose III hated Hatshepsut. According to this theory, he wanted his throne back, and after becoming the sole ruler of Egypt, he tried to erase her from history. But modern historians are much more cautious about this explanation. Hatshepsut and Thutmose III had ruled together for many years, and Thutmose III later became one of Egypt's greatest military rulers. So the reason Hatshepsut's name was erased may have been much more complicated than personal revenge. One possibility is that Hatshepsut's reign created a political problem for later rulers. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was traditionally imagined as a male ruler, but Hatshepsut had broken that tradition. Erasing her from the official history may have helped later rulers create a more traditional story of royal succession. But there's an important problem. We don't know for certain. And that's what makes Hatshepsut's story even more fascinating. They smashed her statues, they removed her name, they damaged her monuments. It was almost as if Hatshepsut had never existed, but they made one mistake. Even when stones are silent, archaeology can speak. During the 20th century, archaeologists began uncovering evidence of Hatshepsut's reign. Broken statues were found, inscriptions were recovered, and slowly, the story of the forgotten pharaoh began to return. Today, we know Hatshepsut as one of the most successful female rulers in ancient Egyptian history. She ruled Egypt for decades. She expanded trade. She launched major construction projects. She sent an expedition to Punt, and she left behind one of Egypt's most famous temples. Yet at one point, her name had almost disappeared. A pharaoh erased from history had finally returned to it. Why do you think Hatshepsut's name was erased? Was Thutmose III taking revenge? Or was there a political reason behind it? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you want to uncover more forgotten mysteries from history, subscribe. Because next time, we uncover another secret from the ancient world.